Smashing the record button. Welcome to the Threats, Treats, and Timers podcast, episode 6, Seeks-a-Roni. I'm one of your hosts, Gary, a.k.a. the Murder Hobo, and I am here, as always, with my bro, my homie, none other than Victor Diaz, the man, the myth, the legend. Tonight, we're going to be talking character creation, part 2. Victor, how was your RPG gaming weekend? Did you get anything done? Are you prepping anything? What's the haps?
Oh, man, can I count the ways on the number of things that I've been doing in terms of gaming? Sheer just joy in the last few weeks of the stuff that I've put together. Those of you who've been on the Google Plus page for ICRPG, Index Card has been my next conversion hackathon, addiction that I've had. Pretty much any kind of world that I can put my hands on, I've been converting. So I just put out the Book of Yogg Volume 2, Dose.
I saw it.
It's beautiful. All of the 5th edition Shadowrun spells.
Yes, very cool.
Let me say that again. Shadowrun spells converted over into Index Card role-playing game. So take a look at them. You get the descriptions, you get the range, the area effect, the target, the name, and the whole gist that goes with it. I am absolutely amazed at how easy it is to do, well, maybe easy for me, but to do the conversions of all these different game systems into ICRPG, and it just comes out in like gushes. Absolutely having a lot of blast with that. I also put out the Dungeons and Dragons Monster Manual in ICRPG. Posted that, I think it was yesterday, day before yesterday. And it has all of the basic stats that you need, the stat lines, to use the Monster Manual monsters in Index Card role-playing game. Now, a couple of people have asked me about this, like, why didn't you include all the special abilities and powers and put all those moves and stuff and the AI and stuff that Hankerin talks about with all the monsters that are included? And one, this is kind of like my cheat sheet, so I just go to it and I make up the moves as we go. But two, I'm going to eventually fill some of those in as my players go through the monsters or as I create those monsters in unique ways and twist them around to make my own monster manual. So I hope everybody copies it, does the same thing. And if you guys want to add anything into it, it is open for comments. So go ahead and punch your comments in. If you have a particular power or a particular ability that you want a certain monster to use, Mind Flayer, Psionics, magic from dragons, beholder beams, all that other stuff. Throw it all in there and we'll mix it all together and make a smorgasbord of a monster manual. So yeah, I did all that, put out that out this week. Couple of supplements there for the Index Card role-playing game. Absolutely in love with how all that's been working out. Still working on all the other conversions and all the other world primers that I've put out there, but I put it out before it's completely done because I'd like to get feedback from the community. So if you guys have been out there reading my stuff and taking a look at it, thank you so much for those of you who have already put in your 2 cents. It's really made a big difference on the quality of the game and the rules and stuff that we're putting together. But if you guys have any comments that you guys want to see something different or see more, I've got quite a few irons in the fire, but I'm sure I can put it on my to-do list and try to get to it eventually.
You're like the ICRPG porn star. All the pumping out of stuff that you're doing. Right? That's what I just feel like that's going to be like the underlying beats here. As far as your D&D character sheet conversion thing and stuff like that, one of the cool parts, if you're not familiar with Savage Worlds and you're only here for the ICRPG stuff, Savage Worlds is mine and Victor's other love. It's a great system. It's fantastic. And this relating to ICRPG is one of the things that I wanted to sort of throw in here. Victor, when you're looking at Savage Worlds and you want to create your own character, or so not your own character, but your own monster, inside of Savage Worlds, it'll have something like tentacles. So you could just take that tentacles line, tentacles does something, gives you grasp, does whatever, right? Tentacles equals this. Maybe it has bite that equals this, right? Like everything equals something. It would be really cool if you made a list of all of those creature, what's the word I'm looking for? Like creature abilities is what they're actually called, come to think of it. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And throw those into a list. So inside of ICRPG, tentacles do this. Bite does, creature bite does this, or
all the abilities and special powers and all of the different claw, fly, tail slap, bite, all that other stuff. So one of the things that we started a long time ago when ICRPG first started was a dictionary of tags. And if you look in that dictionary of tags, it's actually posted on the Google Plus page. It's pretty old, so you may have to scroll down a little bit, but there's probably 50 plus tags listed in there. And one of the things that I was meaning to add to that, now tags in ICRPG describe a lot of the loot, right? They describe whether or not it's, close range, far range, how much effort it does, whether it's bulky, whether it's cannot be sheathed, whether it's giant, whether it's small, whether it's weak. It could be made of duranium. It could be indestructible. Lots of different reasons and definitions that define the loot. Well, Hankeron's actually alluded to some of that in the core rulebook. And if you take a look at some of the monsters in there, it'll give you some ideas like, for example, spiked tail. He calls it a close weapon effort. You roll your dex to attack with it, and it ignores armor. You roll on the target rather than the hero armor. And that's just one of the tags that he has put in there as one of the attack actions. So yeah, I've been meaning to add those in to the dictionary of tags document that we have on the Google Plus page for all the monsters. It's an idea I've had in the back of my head, but I'm glad you brought it up because I think it would be really cool. Then you can just pick and choose whatever tags you want and create your character and do kind of like a plugin to the beholder. If you want to give him spiked tail, then you just pick spiked and tail and you put those two tags in there and the rest of it will just fall in your lap of how all that works. It's one of the beauties of index card role-playing game is how you can do that. So yeah, I'm kind of ahead of you on that, but behind because I haven't completed that thought yet. You know what I mean?
I got to tell you, man, for those of us that ride the short bus, we'd really appreciate it if you took all the thanking out of making monsters for us.
I know there's been a few people who've sent me messages or kind of hit me up on ICRPG and say, hey, thanks for doing all the hard work and putting it all together. And you know what? The only reason I'm doing all of that stuff, it's not so much that I want to help everybody else out, but I'm kind of doing it for my own benefit too, because that's how I'm learning the system. That's how I'm learning all of the junk on the stuff that's not written in the books, it's not written in the rule books, and kind of things that you see on how the whole game is put together. So I'm trying to do lots of conversions and lots of lists and powers. And plus, if I do it, then I don't have to write it or pay someone else to do it, or go buy a 300-page manual for $60 to go do it. And it's less stuff for the community to do, and we can concentrate on gaming and playing games and making up those great stories.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of Savage Worlds, I did some playtesting this weekend for a sweet-ass setting by Eric Lamoureux called Wise Guys. It's a 90s-era Vegas mobster kind of a setting. You can follow Eric Lamoureux on the Google Pluses. It was super fun, dude. We started out in a boxing gym, and one of the characters, this guy that was in there, we played thugs and we had to attack him, which was pretty cool. So I had a chair and I was smashing this guy. We were trying to collect a debt. And then we went we went to a wedding scene where some clowns tried to rob the mafia. They didn't realize it was a mafia wedding. They rolled in and started taking all the money and stuff like that at gunpoint. And of course,
I can just see all the bridesgrooms and all the all the best men and whatnot reaching into their jackets as soon as the clowns come in and say, "Reach for the sky!" and like 30 guns just point out from the crowd. That must have been awesome.
I play the amazing Linda, and she is she's got like a magic show. But the problem is she's got hindrance, like she's an addict, so I'm always popping pills. Anyways, I went into the bathroom and I was sitting in the stall taking a dump, doing my business, popping my pills, when all of a sudden the gunfight breaks out. So Eric's like, there's no toilet paper. I'm like, Linda don't care.
Then I ran out. I didn't grab no shoes or nothing, Jesus. I ran for my life. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Linda just gets up, uses her undergarments to clean herself up, and gets her gun out of her purse, and she goes running out into the fray, shot some guy in the face and turned him into paste, went diving behind one of the wedding tables, with my arse hanging out, because I have a run in a miniskirt, the thing like rides up, right? So I'm high heeled, mini skirted, high. It was fantastic, man. It was awesome. And then Harrison got somebody killed inside the game, which was pretty cool. And then I basically spent Sunday editing the last edition of the Savage Drifters podcast, which is our other famous show that we do together. And that was it. That's what I did all week. So both of us pretty productive in the old RPG community. It's good stuff. Anyways, let's get on with the show.
Okay, everybody, this one's dedicated to the old country, where I used to sip on bourbon all day, slay goblins, and get some sweet loot. It's called Walking Through Alfheim. Come on. Walking through Alfheim, getting to know a wilder kind, looking for a purpose in a tavern side. I would meet you anywhere. Cold and the gar meets the air. Tirolo Stanos, never looking behind. Yeah! Woo! Elfheim, everybody! Woo! Shit!
Okay,
Where's
section 2, the Newski. What is new and happening inside of the world of ICRPG? Random item creator by, I want to call this guy, his name's Jens Holder, but it must be Jan. Is that right? Because he's like German, so it's got to be Jans? Jan? Something like that?
Yes.
He created a random item creator that I was checking out. I'll put links in the show notes, but it's actually pretty freaking cool. Throws up a little bit of a description of the item, gives you an image. You can print it out as a card. It's top notch, man. Also, there's something on the ICRPG forums that was like Borderland Guns. I've got the link for the document in it, but if you ever played the game Borderlands, which is one of my favorite all-time games, I love the way the game looks,
I've wasted a lot of hours on Borderlands 2,
so cool.
all the supplements.
So yeah, somebody did a conversion for it, and I'm actually a little embarrassed to say that I didn't write down who did the conversion, but there is a Google document that lists all the different guns and the styles and the companies and stuff like that, which is pretty sweet. Magnus Enberg has created a class based on a Witcher character called Hexcarl. Now, I never played Witcher, so I'm not 100% sure what this is all about, but it's I guess it's a ripoff of one of the magic casters inside of the game Witcher. So you can find that. I'll put links to that in the show notes. And he also did a Symborium Alchemist, and this one really caught my attention because I've always wanted to play an alchemist and whip up potions and stuff like that on the spot. Throw bombs, fireballs, chemical potions, blinding powder, all that kind of stuff would be cool.
Pure Mongrel, he's created an ICRPG avatar class, really, with some milestones, a paladin holy warrior looking class. I've got to check that out. Pure Mongrel, I haven't been keeping up with the stuff that you've been putting out. Let's back that up a little bit. If you go over to the Symbaroum Alchemist Compendium that we were talking about a few moments ago, there's some pretty cool stuff in there. Have you looked at the different things that he can put together, like an alchemical grenade? So it has 2 hearts. It has 6 thaler, volatile substances put in a sturdy clay or glass vessel, used as a thrown weapon, and does 2d6 damage to close targets and half damage at near. So he has all the abilities and stuff in addition to the character tiers and stuff in that compendium. That's pretty slick.
Looks good, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking I could use that in just about every other fantasy game that I've ever played, now that I've transferred everything over to ICRPG. But there's some pretty cool stuff. I mean, Mother's Thick Bread, the thick loaf of pure nourishment keeps one person fed for a week. So he says to create 1 dose, the alchemist rolls tool use, basic work if alchemical tools are not available, once every day until the heart potency requirement is filled. So in this example, Mother's Thick Bread is 1 heart. So you have to, you make your roll, and you have to generate at least 10 points of effort in order to be able to get the 1 heart that you need to be able to create that thick bread. But it says the thick loaf of pure nourishment keeps one person fed for a week. So that's pretty cool. You can get to do that once every day.
Yeah.
And there's different ones here, multiple hearts. Like Antidote has 4 hearts or 1 to 3 hearts.
Yep. Very cool. So, while you're screwing around, here's the thing too, inside of ICRPG, when you're in different time segments, let's say you're traveling from town to town and you're no longer in like mere moments, you're actually in days. What are you doing, player? Well, I'm going to start whipping up some antidote. Let me roll my effort and stuff like that when my turn comes up, which is pretty cool. But there's some
running
cool
low
stuff.
On food. I'm going to make 3 rolls to make 3 breads to keep us all fed for the week. And
very cool alchemist compendium, man. There's some poison that you can make, antidote. There's medicinal herbs that'll help you heal wounds. There's grenades, all sorts of stuff, man. Smoke bombs.
Yeah, it's almost like you can generate loot, like you almost can roll on a loot table. I don't know. There's something there that I think need to work on that a little bit more. Somebody needs to take a look at that. I think there could be some fun stuff there with an alchemist character.
Yeah, very cool, eh? I was pretty stoked when I saw that, and it's nicely laid out. Looks fantastic. Links in the show notes, man. Good job. Magnus Enberg, pumping out some sweet stuff. Pure Mongrel's avatar class is like a paladin. Milestone skills. So it's got a bunch of stuff that you can rebuke in the deceased / living, and bestow blessing, signs from the gods. So it's basically like a paladin class brought into ICRPG. It's got some skills and stuff like that. It's a couple of pages long. There's some pretty neat stuff. Exalted blessings.
Yeah, he starts out talking about this as a living representative of the deity. So it's kind of like an angel, literally an avatar of a god. Somebody who is a focused individual who boldly walks the spiritual path towards fulfilling the edict of the divine master. See, that's kind of cool. Real good flavor. He starts that out in the very first paragraph. But yeah, there's some good stuff in here. Basic skills that he's go through. A sign from the gods. Once per day, the avatar can bestow a minor miracle. Hello, talk about some power.
I like that he put by GM Pure Mongrel, and then in brackets it says version 1.
Yeah.
Like, that there's some things that are going to change.
Need some work, I think.
Yeah, because somebody's going to get their hands on this and they'll be like, oh, I'm going to do this, and blammo. Very cool. That's just one of the ones that I found that he had busted out. There is another one there where he has created a savage character. It's like a barbarian. The Savage, he doesn't have a little intro for this one, but it gets some basic skills. Unarmored defense, just like any barbarian. It's thrown in reckless attack, danger sense, which is pretty sweet. There's intimidating presence. Well, who doesn't really crap their pants when a giant naked guy in a buckskin comes at you? Retaliation, and then some advanced skills. I like this part of it too, because he's sort of taken a page out of the 5th edition one, where you've got like Strength of the Bear is sort of like a skill tree that you can follow without it being a skill tree. It's just a skill that you take.
Right.
Toughness of the Bison, Alpha of the Pack, Sight of the Eagle, Strike of the Cobra. I think that's a fantastic idea, and one of the things that I love about the Barbarian class in 5th edition is their ability to sort of hone in on a totem creature. That would be great to bring into ICRPG. So this is called The Savage by Pure Mongrel. Very cool. Guys,
I like what he's doing here with the basic skills. He's using them like milestones. So you can pick one of these whenever you reach a milestone. You can take danger sense. It makes all dex saves easy to dodge versus traps and area effect spells or whatever. So it's kind of giving people the choices. But you're right. He uses the advanced skills. All have requirements. You have to take one of the basic skills before you can use an advanced skill. So it's almost like a tiered skill system, like a tiered feat chain that he's converted over into ICRPG. Good idea. Really good idea, Pure Mongrel. I might have to steal that one. I might have to steal that one for the ICRPG Rifts World Primer. That'd be a good idea to be able to feat chains together.
Stealing a bunch of stuff. And for the trifecta, he has also created the Harmonist. The note says all Harmonist skills usage require performance on the part of the character using them. If the Harmonist cannot give audible voice, play their instrument, or make the correct actions, they are unable to perform that skill. So this guy gets shut down as soon as you put shackles on him. Unless, of course, he's doing it all by voice, but you stuff a rag in his mouth and put a couple of shackles on this guy, and you are out of commission. That's the way I'm looking at it. Speaking of which,
that's a nice way to be able to keep that character under control and not have him be too overpowered all the time. He does have a kryptonite. Superman isn't totally immune to all powers and all abilities.
Yeah, he's got the basic skills, heroic inspiration, which is kind of sweet. So, sing a little song, inspire some people.
Sure.
Soothing tones is a bit of a heal. Jack of all trades. The Harmonist may add half their natural charisma rounded down to their next attempt roll of any die type. To their next attempt roll of any type. That's actually pretty sweet. That is really kind of like a jack of all trades, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Inspiring words. You can help your party members make save, fear, charm, sleep effects, which is pretty cool. Magic composer, so you can sing some songs. I'm not sure what this one does, but I'm going to leave it up to the peeps to go and do some reading on this one, so that we're not basically just sort of telling everybody how it is. The Words of Karna, the Ballad of Apollo, Struck by the Muse, Cry of the Warbound. These are advanced skills, so they allow you to increase your abilities. Yep, that's what it looks like. They allow you to increase your abilities. So these are the skill ups. There's harmonic weaving, magical. He's got, so much stuff. Milestone 1, any basic skill other than magic. Yeah, fantastic. Check it out. This one is called the Harmonist, and that's the trifecta from Pure Mongrel. Last but not least, no, there's two more things we got going on here. There was a
Andreas
superpowers one.
Butenbender. He has ICRPG superpowers. Finally, somebody got brave and decided to go after superpowers. You know, superpowers scares me. I'll be real honest with you. Superpowers scares me because it's almost like magic, but it can get a little crazy. The power levels can go way off the charts when you're playing like a 4-color comic kind of game, especially in ICRPG, because everything is so like +1, +2. You know, you don't do +5, 13 dice and add them all together and watch them explode. You don't usually do that in ICRPG. See, it gets kind of intimidating when you're doing it. But I can see what Andreas did here. I'd like to, Andreas, if you're listening, I'd like to see more about what activation is about and what the costs are about. So it looks like activation, he has notations for example, the charge power. You may make a far move and a close attack, and the activation is always on. So I'm assuming that the charge power is always on. You only have to spend 1 point to be able to use it, because it says it costs 1. Costs 1 what? I think a key or a brief description of how this works or an example would be great. And I see that he's color-coded a lot of them.
Yeah, I'm not sure on the cost either. I totally see what you're saying. Maybe they're based on some kind of spell points, power points thing. The thing is with supers is like, you know, inside of Savage World, supers has always sort of been a bone of contention with a lot of people. They don't really think that they sort of did supers the right way. I know when I did my supers campaign, I didn't do a supers campaign. When I did my American Honeybee sort of superhero setting, I sort of just forwent the superhero's companion, and I just gave my superheroes basically the spells and said that these are things that you can just always do. Like I had one of the characters was she had lazy eye. She was like an old drunk Russian lady that had one like lazy eye. So when she was looking at you, one eye would look directly at you and one would sort of be off on a 45, and then she could just shoot laser beams, but the laser beams would shoot out at those funny angles. So anyways, I just did things like that. So not great on the superpowers, I'm going to admit it. I would like to see this get fleshed out a little bit more. And that's the other thing with superheroes too.
I think he's got the descriptions right. I mean, they're brief. They give all the key words that you need to know, you know, your target, your area of effect, your range. And he does have, it looks like there's some method to the madness of the color coding. I'm just not sure what they all mean, because there's quite a bit of rainbow of colors. But I think he's got the right idea of what he's trying to put out there. Don't get us wrong, Andreas. Go ahead and keep writing this and keep working on it. I really would like to see this a little bit more and fleshed out. You know, speaking of superpowers, and here you were talking about how you played with your characters or your group on that before. I have a different concept of superpowers or supers type of game. Every time that I've played, okay, so the first superpowers game I've ever played, well, that was a long time ago, but the Marvel superhero role-playing game with the big chart with the red, green, and you giggle because you know what I'm talking about.
Back in my day, superheroes.
Yeah. Exactly. So that was the first application of a role-playing game system attached to comic books for me. And then, Mutants and Masterminds and all these other great superhero games that are out there, I started to discover them and realize them. And when I play superheroes games, or let me put this another way, if I ever wrote a superheroes game, I would never do what you were saying, is do powers as magical spells. And there's a reason for that. My thought process is I want my characters to have their abilities, and those are their abilities. And what makes them heroes is when they push those abilities in different ways, using different methods, or just their own willpower to be able to create new powers or to increase their abilities even more. I've always liked that growth moment whenever a superpowers hero in a comic book kind of grows up a little bit and matures in their ability to be able to use their powers. So, you got, for example, Storm. She went from creating a cloud of mist and blinding her opponents, with clouds of vapor and thunder and that kind of stuff, to creating torrents of rain and raining down lightning bolts onto her enemies. She wasn't always that powerful. And that's just one example in one comic book, right? All the comic books have different methodologies and styles, but I really like having that ability and being able to see that growth. So I think if I ever did a superpowers list, I would probably have different levels of power. So maybe 1 through 5 or, 1 through 10 or something. And then you get like create storms level 1, and that allows you to create fog. And then level 2, you're able to create static electricity. And then level 3, thunder. And level 4, a city block gets doused. And level 5 is you can call lightning bolts down. So the powers kind of grow every time they would develop it. But I like what he's doing here. Andreas, if you're listening, keep working on it. I think you need to just kind of describe a little more on what you're trying to get across in the document and not so much in the post of what you're trying to achieve. But it's a good start. Superpowers, man, it's tricky. You just gotta go and dive in and take a look at it. There's a lot of different ways you can shake that stick.
Yeah, I agree. And like I said, coming from Savage Worlds, well, playing D&D my whole life, there was never superpowers. And then going over to Savage Worlds that kind of had a sort of a hokey-pokey sort of a system that people kind of always poo-pooed. I never really got into it. Yeah. So I'm not great with the superpowers. And so to see this come out in ICRPG, I'm like, that's really cool. Somebody's throwing their hat in the ring and trying to take a bite off the apple, so to speak.
Dive in there. I gotta give them props for even trying it, because, like I said, superpowers can get really crazy and really wacky out of hand. And not that it can't be, not that your game can't be, wacky and crazy and highly overpowered, but you always want to try to find that happy balance, right? That happy balance between the story and the characters that you're building, and being able to give them the tools they need to be able to create those key moments where you see that growth, you see that change in the character, and it becomes a moment at the table. And I think that's where a lot of people sometimes get caught up in the mechanics of it all, and they don't look at the story and look at the character. One of the great things that I really admire about Index Card Role-Playing Game, and Hankerin himself when he writes it, is one of the first things he tells you, and we talked about this whenever you make your character, we talked about it in depth for a little bit, was the first thing he tells you when you build a character is choose an image. What does your character look like? Then he tells you dream a story. I mean, that's what it's all about at the end of the day. What is the vision that you have in your head, and what's the story everyone's trying to tell. So I think it's really, really awesome that he's put that together, and he gives us a system to be able to develop that. But Andres, keep doing what you're doing. I want to see more of that. I'd like to see you develop a world primer, and if you want to do it, we can work together on that. So don't forget to check out the Roll for Effort YouTube guys. You know what? I haven't checked a lot of have they put up a lot of YouTube videos recently?
Most of their stuff that they have up to sort of like last week is campaigns that they've run. And what I've been doing is going on their site, and I've been getting the links and running it through to a YouTube to audio conversion. And then I listen to it while I'm driving around. If Jason Scranton's listening, Roll20 sucks. Sorry to say. But
you're not biased or anything. It's okay. We get it.
No, the thing is, the reason I say that is because when they're playing their games, it's like, oh yeah, go ahead and give me a roll. All I hear is ding, because Roll20 just makes a ding noise all the time, and that's not edited out. So I always hear, anytime they make a roll, it's that Roll20 beep that I hear, and it drives me mental.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
But that said, it's awesome to listen to these guys. They did an Aliens campaign that I listened to that was fantastic, and knowing the Aliens world.
I love that. I love that one. I listened to about 3/4 of it. I'm dying to get that back in my queue and pick up where I left off. There was so many things firing off in my head when I was listening to that game. I just wanted to go and sit down and go through, add it to one of my lists of world primers. But the list is so long right now, I may never finish them all.
This is the beautiful part about my job. I drive a truck. I drive around all day. I just actually bought a new Bluetooth headset yesterday, 15 hours life on that battery. I convert everything to audio, and I listen at 2 times the speed. So I can bust through a 3-hour show of them talking about whatever it is or whatever campaign they're doing in about an hour and a half. And my brain's got used to it. So it's almost like when you hear them talk in real life, that they talk
it's real slow.
Yeah. So anyways, Jason Scranton is doing some advice vids. He's started to throw out a couple of them. I think he's got 2 or 3 up right now. But yeah, their website, their YouTube is called Roll for Effort. And they do some cool stuff, man. They got some great campaigns and some videos over there. Go check it out. Jason Scranton, love your stuff, bro. It's awesome. That's it. Main topic, character creation, part 2. Let's do it. All right, Victaro Diazzi. Alfheim classes. Let's get into this, because in the last episode that we did, we got through how to make your character, what some of the different tags for weapons were, how to build sort of the basics and where to put your points and some supplies, items, gears, that kind of stuff. But in this section, we're going to go over character classes. And one of the beautiful parts about ICRPG is even though they have classes, you're not restricted to classes. These are basic guidelines. If you want to take, let's say, for example, the very first one in the Alfheim class section, it's a Guardian. So from the Anvil Knights of Ramthus to the Kopesh-wielding Cavaliers of Ket, all defenders are trained in steel and strategy. And then that's really it, man. That's it. That's your Guardian class in a nutshell. It's 3 sentences long. And then this is what I love about it. It's like now it's up to you to put your idea of a Guardian into the game. Mm-hmm. Gives you some recommended gear and a couple of milestones. And this is also another fantastic part of ICRPG. The freaking gear. It's super cool because the gear literally is how you improve your character. And for me, I love giving gear and I love taking the gear at the weigheth, so to speak.
Yeah, everybody, all the players in any role-playing game that I've ever played, we're all munchkins at heart. I mean, we love to get new gear, new cards, new picks, new stuff that always shows up. Everybody always wants that +5 Holy Avenger, that flaming staff of fireballs, or, the returning invisible axe and all kinds of fun little tools and loot and armor and shields and all that fun stuff. So I totally agree with you. It's really cool how Hankeron's put together powers and abilities and stuff and tied them all into loot. Because everything that you do in ICRPG is going to come from your loot and what you're able to get from it. Here's a good example in the Guardian. Spiked Shield. You deal 3 damage on a missed attack. So your Guardian, even though he attacks, if he misses, he's still going to do damage. That's awesome. That's like a special ability and a shield all thrown in one. And what happens if you lose your Spiked Shield? Well, time to go find some more loot or pick a different milestone reward. Yeah, it's pretty cool how he brings the simplicity of it all into a game like this.
One of the milestone rewards for the Guardian class is a Heartstone. One heart is 10 hit points. So, you want to level up. Maybe the first thing you want to do is get more hit points so that you become sort of more of a sponge. There was some cool stuff that he talked about in the difference between 134 and 135. They changed it. Oh, here it is. The shield gloves. You can add your con stat to your armor. So if you've got an armor of 10, 11, 12, and your constitution is +3, your armor goes from 12 to, say, 15. Ring of Might, common shield, armor kit, weapons kit. Your starter reward is the shield gloves, which is pretty cool. And then some of the milestone rewards are pretty slick too. And one of the things that you brought up last time was the shabby loot for milestone rewards, which is fantastic. I love that idea. But basically, you just give this class anything that you want that deals with sort of increasing your armor, things like that. What is skin of Amber Gar? Oh,
yeah. Consume to be immune to damage for 3 rounds. Isn't that awesome?
Yep.
Guardians. That's like, here, eat this piece of skin of Amber Gar and like some beef jerky or turkey jerky or whatever. And next thing you know, you're immune to damage for 3 rounds. And on a Guardian at that, that's just, you just want to go on a rampage and kill everything in the room.
You went the beef jerky route. I thought a skin of Amber. I thought Gar was beer or ale or alcohol. Yeah. So it's a skin.
Yeah, I believe it is. You might be right.
So I think you just chug a beer and then become immune
literally.
to stuff for
an
3
entire
rounds.
wineskin of Amber Gar. I get it now. I see what you mean.
That's pretty awesome. And
that's one of the cool things about a lot of the classes too. Even though you get these milestone rewards, you don't have to necessarily take them. You can choose to play a Guardian class, and I want the Blades milestone rewards. He gets Masterwork boots, and I want to get a +1 to my dexterity. If you wanted to do that, there's no reason why you can't. Just talk to your GM and say, hey, I want to take this milestone reward as an option. I always let my players pick and choose which milestone rewards they want. If it fits into the character, and especially if it fits into the story, sure. You want to take 2 or 3 items off the shabby loot chart instead of getting a regular milestone reward, knock yourself out. That's a good option to take, especially if that person's character's like a scavenger or a scoundrel or someone who's always hawking hot stuff. You never know what they might have in their pocket.
There's some cool rewards too, like this war horn. You blow this horn and you give an ally +3 in their next attempt. Also, too, which is really cool, is the Guardian boots. You can sort of choose an ally and you absorb any damage they take. This has a real gamey feeling to it. Like You could send your pet into battle I think it was in World of Warcraft, and you would sort of split the damage between your pet.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. I really like that idea. But these things are just items that you wear. They come, they go, they break, whatever. You find other stuff. But, your Guardian class is essentially, he's just your tank. He rolls in and protects the party and stuff like that. So you're gonna give him milestone rewards that basically have to do with increasing armor, constitution, or other cool stuff like protecting your friends. I'm pretty sure I saw somewhere too there was like a horn you could blow that forced other people to attack you, or bad things would happen to them. That would be a great milestone reward too. So that's the Guardian class in a nutshell. There's no skill trees to climb. There's nothing you need to know. You just play this character like you would any kind of protective character or tank class in any game, which is pretty sweet. What's the Blade do? Now the Blade is also a fighter, is he not? He would be like instead of the fighter tank guy, he's the fighter DPS guy.
Oh yeah, definitely the DPS guy. Kind of like a gladiator. He's the warrior's warrior. It says in the description, every group needs a deadly weapon: axes, knives, swords, pikes. The Blade is master of all and shows little mercy in battle. Some of Lydia's assassins forged with dark magic. Others are driven by wrath or rage. I will kill them. I will kill them all is the stat that he says. It's pretty cool because the Blade is like literally, the master of arms, the weapon master. And he starts out with the weapons kit. And of course, a spear, an axe, a sword, rope and hook, and common armor. Everything you need to be the common beat stick that he needs to be. But a great starter reward for him, which I think was genius here, was the weapon gem. You can improve one weapon by you deal an extra 3 effort whenever you put the weapon gem into the weapon that so if you had a spear, you can put the weapon gem up into the blade, and the weapon will now do 3 points more of effort whenever you use that. So I think that's a pretty cool idea, and it gives you the idea that it's a weapon-centric character where everything that you're going to be doing is revolving around the amount of damages you can put out, the types of weapons that you're going to get, and the abilities and milestone rewards that go with it. Really awesome class, and I love the whole drawing that he's done. It's a tall guy in black armor, and he has an axe in one hand, a spear in the other, and looks like a couple of spears and axes on his back. Just really a walking, killing machine.
Yeah, this is why I love this freaking game and why I think it's so fantastic. The simplicity of it, yet the complexity of it. Yeah. The weapon gems are a really cool idea. Ever since I started playing World of Warcraft way back in the day, was it WoW? Yeah, WoW lets you socket weapons. You can find weapons and you can put different colored things in them and allow them to do stuff. I would love to see that inside of a game as one of the main sort of premises of the game. Every weapon is just a regular weapon, but you can put socket different gems in it and imbue them to do certain things, so you can customize the weapon you have. Instead of finding a weapon of, say, that does fire damage or whatever, maybe you just imbue the weapon you have with the ability to, engage fire. So the weapon gem idea is pretty cool. The Ketish chains. On a weapon attempt of 15 or better, attack again. Sign me up.
Yes. Can I have 2 of those, please?
Yes, please. Yeah. Blood of Furies.
That's awesome.
You can trade hit points for a weapons effort bonus. So you actually sort of like give a little bit of your own hit points. Take 3 hit points off, and I can add it to my attack. Weapons effort is weapons damage bonus. So yeah, you would use your hit points to do more damage. That's really cool.
I could totally see like a shirtless gladiator kind of character, and he decides to take the dagger and cut himself across the chest, and he's all angry at the attacker, and then he uses that same bloody dagger and beats his head in with it, that kind of thing. I think that's pretty characterful of it. He gets masterwork boots. That's a +1 to dexterity. We were talking about that earlier. And then he gets a diamond whetstone. Now, this is so classic to a Blade class. It fits right in. It says, choose one weapon. When you roll 6 effort, roll again.
Mm-hmm. Exploding die. There it is.
Exploding die. Exactly, on a diamond whetstone. That's awesome. That's totally what would happen if you had someone who's playing a blade. You know, he has an axe and he's been sharpening that axe throughout the game, resting, and when he's going through it, he finally gets into battle and he says, you know, he gets serious and he pulls out that sharpened axe and he rolls for effort and rolls a 6 and bam, it explodes. You get to roll it again and he rolls another 6 and it just keeps happening. We've seen that happen a lot in Savage Worlds, but I absolutely love how he's drawn that mechanic into the game here. So looking forward to see what else he does with it in Core 2.0.
Obsidian spears. You get thrown 5 count. Any hit does double ultimate effort. On the previous podcasts, we've spoken about how effort, there's basic work, which does D4. There's weapon damage, which does D6, regardless of the
there's
weapon.
Magic,
it's 6 across
which
the board.
does D8.
Yes, sir. And then
then there's ultimate. Ultimate does a D12 in effort. In this case, if you're talking about weapon effort, the D12 is the ultimate effort that the Obsidian Spears do. But any hit with an Obsidian Spears doubles it. So if you're going to roll a D12, you get a 10. Well, now you just did 20 points. 2 hearts worth of damage with an Obsidian Spear. That is sick. That's a lot of damage in one hit.
Mm-hmm. Diamond whetstone your sword. You roll a 6, you get to roll it again, and then throw a spear. Here's one thing too that I really like about this game: the lack of rules, or sort of, you know, it's
openness.
The openness of it. So in my games, if you want to attack twice, I know it's supposed to be like, you know, it's just one action per player kind of a thing in D&D, but I would totally let my players do 2 actions as long as both of them were rolled at hard. So he rolls in with his sword with his diamond whetstone on it, makes a slashing attempt or, you know, a sword attack on the nearest foe, and then reaches into his backpack and pulls out an obsidian spear from his back and just throws it at one of the opposing foes way off in the distance. You know, because you want your characters just to be epic in that fashion. And that would be super cool, man. Blade is a wicked looking class. That's super cool.
What I want to know is, can you use your diamond whetstone on your obsidian spears?
I would assume you could, but that would be kind of silly because it does say when you roll 6. So with your diamond spears, you're rolling double.
So if you roll, but you can roll a 6 on an obsidian spear. If you roll the 6, you get to re-roll the ultimate effort die, and you double it.
Fair point. Fair point.
And that is ICRPG in a nutshell, right? You can pretty much anything you can come up with. There are rules and there are loot and there's lots of other fun stuff that you can throw out there. We're just going over the Alfheim classes, and this is just 2 of the, you know, basic entry level classes, but so much fun to making your character epic in everything that he does. And I think that's really a great catch-all term that we should probably use more often when we talk about ICRPG and how it works, because everything you do in ICRPG is epic. From the moment you put your character out on the first board, on the first roll of the first game of the first night, to the very last thing you're going to do. Epic actions all along the way. Every single game I've played of ICRPG, whether it's a playtest, whether it's with Hankerin and Jason and Matt and the other guys, whether it's with my kids here at home, every single one that I've ever played, it's every single time it's been an epic game. I absolutely love that word for this particular instance. But I still want to know, can you use a diamond whetstone on an obsidian spear? I think that would be really cool, especially for a blade.
Yeah, it would be.
Because you've earned both of those milestones, right? You've earned a diamond whetstone because you had to use that get that as a milestone reward, and you earned the right to use obsidian spears. So why can't you use a diamond whetstone on an obsidian spear? Mm-hmm. That would be. See, these are the things that Victor comes up with when he has a lot of time on his hands.
Roll on, Victor. Roll on. The shadow class. The shadow class is basically your thief, your foot pads, your hoods, and thieves use stealth as their weapon. So the premise it's cool because it's really all you need to say. The shadow class is your thiefy, stealthy class. Yeah. Now
you notice he didn't say it's a hobbit class or it's a thief class or it's any kind of racial intonation at all in terms of the fantasy characters or, you know, the type of character that you're going to be. In this particular case, the shadow in the caricature that he's drawn, it almost looks like a goblin.
Yes, it does.
You know, pointy ears and a little short face and curled little toed shoes. But he has a dagger and it looks like a bandolier and maybe a short bow. And he's hauling butt as he's moving across the page. But he starts out with greedy gloves, weapons kit, trapper gear, pouch of coin, all common stuff that a shadowy type thief character would be carrying. Now, what I absolutely love is how Hankerin ties in the starter reward with the whole concept of the class. In this case, he has what's called the Thieves' Hood as a starter reward. And it says, stealth rolls are always easy. Now, this is something we talked about in previous episodes before. An easy roll is whenever you have a target number in the room of a 12, for example. And when it's an easy roll, you subtract 3 from that target number, and that becomes your new target number. So when this shadow character uses his Thieves' Hood to do some stealthy moves, any of his stealth rolls are going to be, in this case, a 9 instead of a 12. So it's easier for him to be able to do things using stealth, aka easy. And that, I think that's just so classic on how Hankerin, and so smart on how he's able to put these classes together with their starter rewards. Really brings out the flavor. And that's just one piece of loot.
Mm-hmm. That's your starter gear. You can get Thieves' Boots, which are a milestone reward. And the cool part about them is when you're rolling stealth, you only fail on a 1. So, you slap on the boots, take off the hood, find yourself a pot or whatever like that. Now you've increased your armor class by 1, and you're good to go. The Thieves' Gimbal, when rolling for loot, you add 10 to the result. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. Have you ever rolled on the loot table? Because the higher you go up on the loot table, the more cooler stuff there is.
Yes, that's pretty sweet. There's a mask that you can get in here that gives you some +3 when you're trying to deceive, some smoke bombs, which are super cool because you can conceal the movements of your allies by throwing these things. So you want to help your buddy stealth through a room? Smoke bomb. Deadly Snare.
Deadly Snare. Set a tiny trap that does ultimate effort when triggered. That's pretty cool. Ultimate effort on a trap. That means you're rolling D12s, people. Yep. D12s whenever someone sets off that trap.
Yeah, and then lastly, the Shadow Dagger. You can attack with magic effort even after moving. Some very cool items for milestone rewards.
I would take the Shadow Dagger if I ever played a Shadow, and my first milestone reward, I think it would be the Shadow Dagger would be the first one to get, because you automatically, it becomes a magic weapon pretty much, because you're going to be rolling a D8 instead of D6 for your for your weapon effort, and you get to do that. You get to attack even after you move.
Yeah, I was thinking I would take the snare, but then the snares, for me, it would be very particular. Like you would need at least a turn to set that up. Or let's say I stealthed in and I saw my prey, so to speak, and maybe I stepped back around the corner and set a trap then, and then I called him over, kind of a thing. You know what I mean? Like, unlike a Shadow Dagger where it's like, all right, roll into combat, stabby stabby, you're getting that bonus every time. Deadly Snare would require, as far as my DMing.
Yeah, but you're going to be doing ultimate effort. I mean, come on, you don't get to roll that 12-sided that often. That's pretty dangerous. You're going to take a limb off with that.
Yes, with a little prep, setting a trap. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, you could easily drop a 1-heart creature or a 1-heart NPC easily if you catch him in that Deadly Snare and you roll well. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Your
trap goes off and gets like a little goblin around the neck or something, and he's just dangling by a branch as he gets choked out.
Oh, yeah, I could totally see it. I could totally see it happening. Only in ICRPG. That's great. I love that.
What's next?
The shadow character.
What's that?
His quote, I love doing the quote. His quote for the shadow character is, "Hold on, let me try something." That totally fits, dude. Totally fits.
As you set up that deadly trap, which is pretty sweet, or throw a smoke bomb or something like that. It's so cool, man. Like, so much better than just your regular stinking thieves in 5th edition, right? Because, I mean, you could basically, you can give these guys anything.
5th edition thieves take up like 4 or 5 pages in the rule book. This is like half a page. It's like a 3x5 card is your whole character kit right here.
Almost like an index card, eh? Right? The Archer is next. No weapon has changed warfare like the longbow. Ain't that the truth? I'm going to let you read the cool little thing that he says in quotes here because you like them so much. What is it?
Yes. So, so he's a master bowman, fast, accurate, tactical, the whole 9. Of course, this is the guy that's going to, the classic stance, and I love the picture. It's an elf with a bow drawn and a full quiver, ready to fire off a bolt at his enemies. And he talks about, the quote in it goes like this. It says, fall back, focus fire on the big one. And I could have sworn I've heard that like 300 times on every single combat, right? Of every dragon and giant and ogre fight that we've ever had. But he starts out with the recommended gear of a firestone, a longbow, of course, a dagger, and common armor. So nothing too fancy, but where it really gets fun is in his reward.
Mm-hmm. It's been the speed quiver has been changed in the 1.34 to 1.35. If you range attack with your speed quiver, you get a 15, you get a roll again. But now it's been changed in 3.5 down to 13. So on a 13 or higher, you get to fire that bow twice.
Yeah, and I think it's because he noticed that he said it wasn't happening as often as he would like it to be. And considering that's a starter reward for an archer, I mean, you're an archer, you're, a ranged attacker. If you can't shoot more than once, every other round or something, and you're rolling really well, maybe that threshold was a little too high, so we lowered it so it would happen more often. Because really, how often you're going to be rolling that high, allowing you to fire twice every round? Maybe 2 out of 3 rounds, you're going to get a 13 or higher, in terms of the law of averages and that whole math behind the system or whatever. But I like that little tweak. It's that kind of improvements and stuff that he's made to the system that have really, that he's reviewed, and a lot of play testing, I'm sure, has a lot to do with that. But I really like the speed quiver because you can not only use that and the archer, but if I wanted to, I can get rid of the thieves hood or change a milestone reward for the shadow, and I can use speed quiver for the shadow. But instead of a speed quiver, he has a speed bandolier with daggers. So now I can throw 2 daggers in one turn instead of throw 1 dagger. You can manipulate these by changing the stats and the abilities and the weapons and the descriptions. But the method, right, the system is all the same. That's what I've learned in converting all these systems and all these different games into ICRPG, is that it's all about the flavor. It can be a speed quiver, but it doesn't say a speed quiver of arrows. You're just assuming because the archer has a longbow that it's a speed quiver of arrows. What if it's a speed quiver of javelins and we gave it to the blade as part of his obsidian spears? So now he has obsidian spears in a speed quiver. So every time he rolls a 13 or higher with an obsidian spear, he can fire another one. And either one of those you hit with double ultimate effort. You see how that works?
I like your style, man. That works?
Yeah, like so there's no reason why you guys can't mix it up and do all those changes and get creative with the loot. I've learned a lot of these little tricks and how to use that stuff. I won't take any credit for it. A lot of it is from the players that we've been playing with, and they've been figuring this stuff out and trying to get combos and trying to combo off each other, and lots of variances and different variations of loot and loot tables and their selections or whatever. But some of that stuff is pretty cool. The milestone rewards for the archer, though, absolutely they rock. Those are awesome. We start out with 20 magic arrows, and of course magic arrows mean you're going to roll magic effort on a hit. So instead of a regular weapon die of d6, now you're going to be rolling d8s for every time you fire a magic arrow. And if you have a speed quiver, what do you get to do when you attack roll is higher than 13? You get to shoot again.
Yeah, that's right.
That's awesome.
It's good stuff. The Berserker Ring gives you +2 ultimate effort. This is my favorite one, man. A marking flare. So this is like basically in any game you've ever seen where you can like target your opponent or something like that. Yeah. Except
it's
this
like a red laser dot on their forehead, right?
That's right. Yep. This one designates a target, and then your allies do double effort against it. That is wicked, man. Toss one of these out on a bad guy, he's going down before like it gets back around to you. Go ahead.
Yeah, grapple arrow. Yeah, that's one of my favorites. I think next to speed quiver, that's one of my favorites. Grapple arrow says hit an anchor point and move there as a free action. So you're standing at the base of a cliff or the base of a large sheer rock that you got to get over. Well, you fire your bow up at the top of the top of the cliff, an anchor point. You maybe see a branch or see a large stone that you can get a line wrapped around. And guess what? Now you get to move up there as a free action. That's awesome. Now, when you're playing with minis, and I've been a mini war gamer for just a little bit less of a bit of time as I've been a role player. And when you're playing a war game, there's lots of different ways you can move, and you're looking for different angles and stuff. But the way Hankerin has put it together, this is an awesome way to tie milestone rewards and loot into effects that can happen on the table. So when you have a guy that has a grapple arrow, that character or that player's always looking up and down and left and right and all around trying to figure out what's a good angle for him to be able to get to a high post or to a point where he can be able to shoot or get a better angle on all of his targets. And I think that's really awesome. It's really awesome how he ties that together.
You know, it's cool too. It's like you pick a video game that you've played where there's been an archer class in it. Grab a skill from them. You've seen ones where you can do, say, split shot, for example, or fire arrow or something like that. Like you name it, man. You can put any element you want on your arrows or whatever, and that's how you just create like your own milestone rewards. Now you give this guy fire arrows. He's got a bow that every time he pulls a trigger, it shoots fire, and then you add an extra, say, like D6 or D8 fire damage to it. It's so wide open and so cool, and you could just take anything from any video game you've ever seen. So when I saw grapple arrow, I was thinking you could grapple the target with it, but hamstring is a skill that I've seen in I can't remember how many video games. You shoot an arrow at your target, hit him in the leg, and he basically, you could say half his movement, or maybe you knock him prone because he's got an arrow in his friggin' ankle, right?
Yeah, or maybe you can hit him twice and one in each leg, and now he can't move. First arrow, half movement. Second arrow, he's stunned. He can't go nowhere. He can only create actions. He can't move. Yeah, that's an awesome move, and I totally agree with you. Marvel Comics, the Avengers, Hawkeye, the one with the different arrows in the quiver that he can pull out explosives and lasers and all kinds of other stuff. It would be so awesome to be able to do that either in the Warp Shell version or in Alfheim or in different games and be able to have all those different arrows. And, every time you get a milestone reward, I got a grenade arrow now. And, I got a grapple arrow. And, I have a stun arrow. And you just keep pulling out new ones. I mean, that kind of stuff is really what makes the game so much fun. And all the munchkins come out in all of us because we just want to make all this cool loot and use it in the game. I think it's pretty cool.
That's right.
Next one up is steel bowstring. Now, this one's unique. I never thought about this one. It says hit a target, and all targets between you are also hit. Mm-hmm. So I can see the example of you see 4 orcs charging at you, all within a line of fire, and so you say, well, I have a steel bowstring, so I draw my bow and I aim at the last orc. Now when you shoot, all the targets between you and that target are hit. So all 4 orcs take the bow shot because your bow string is so strong. When you fire it off, it goes through all of them. You do weapon damage to all of them. I've never thought about doing that using a steel bowstring. I think that's pretty neat.
Yeah, so cool, man. And it's the simplicity of it is amazeballs. Hit a target, hit all the targets. What more do you need to know? I like the last one too.
No complicated systems, right? No dice mechanics. No make a test. If it's this high, add 3. Do this, and if you hit infinity, you get to hit all of them. No, none of that. It's just real simple. Hit a target, and everything between you and there are hit.
Yep, I think I would probably take steel bowstring first, but I really do like the lightning bolt because it allows you to roll magical effort, and you no longer need arrows. So that's pretty sweet.
Where that comes from. Come on. You know as good as I do. Hankeron's about our age. You know where that comes from. That's the energy bow from the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon. Because he always draws it back, remember? And it always fired off as many arrows as he wanted to. And it all magic, just blasting away at people. I think that's pretty awesome.
That is pretty sweet. Well, we're going to put a pin in this one. We still have to go through the priest class, the scout class, the mage class, the commander class, the wildling class, just to get through. And
that's just the Alfheim classes. We haven't even gotten to Warp Shell yet.
That's right. So we're going to put a pin in this one. We might do character creation part 3, 4, and 5 by the way that we're getting into these things. But they're so cool to read them. I just love reading the magic items and the ideas that spring forth from just using these in games. Like when we're reading about the archer and hitting all the targets between 2 points, or hit a target, hit them all. That's what Laser Eyes was like. Lazy Eyes, right? Yeah, she would just look at one target, and that 45 would split off, but she would hit everything. Those laser beams just went right through all of them, and she did her damage that way. That's just awesome. All right, let's get out of here, Victor. That's an hour. We'll put a cap in this one, and we'll call her done. Over to the outro. All right, that's it for this show. We went through quite a few classes. Next week we'll go through a few more, and ICRPG is such a vibrant community on the G Pluses that there's always new stuff to talk about, which is cool. Like, look at the 5-10 things that we just talked about tonight in the new section. So take us out with some contact information.
You got it, Gary. You can reach us at murderhoboshow@gmail.com, or you can get us on Twitter if you can keep it under 140 characters at Murder Hobo Show. And of course, you can reach us always on the Google Plus page, Murder Hobo Show, under the Nerds International banner. You can reach myself directly at the Google Plus page for either Savage Rifts, Index Card Role-Playing Game, or the 13,348 other communities that I have going on in the Google Plus community. As always, ladies and gentlemen, you know why we do this. We do this because of the community, for the community, and by the community. We talk about all your guys' stuff. We talk about our stuff, and we talk about all the great stuff that everyone else is putting out there. So keep doing what you're doing. All you creators, all you wonderful thinkers, all you great gamers, absolutely enjoying the heck out of ICRPG. And please say a prayer for ICRPG Core 2.0. We're hoping to birth that out here in the next few days, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm so excited as there's no words. I am literally at the edge of my seat, and I'm ready to take the day off of work just so I can stay home and read the entire thing cover to cover on the first day. So, Hankerin, if you're listening, get on it. We're waiting for this book. Take my money already.
Yeah. Take my money.
Copy on check, cash, money orders, American Express, you name it. We'll take, at this point, we'll take food stamps. We just want to make sure we can get the book in our hands. So please, ladies and gentlemen, if you've been listening to our show, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Make sure you check out some of the other shows that we have. Of course, the Savage Rifter for Savage Rifts. And we're trying not to put too many bugs in your ears for all the 101 other podcasts that we have ideas for. So tune in next time. And what do we got next time, Gary?
Next time we're going to do the rest of the classes, I'm pretty sure. We're going to do the priest class, which is my all-time personal favorite. I always play the priests. I love playing the buffing classes. In Deadlands, I played the Blessed. I would just go around and I would like, "Blessed be thy weapon in the good Lord's name."
Yeah, and we haven't even talked magic that much, huh? We haven't talked about magic spells and magic loot, really. So, yeah, it'll be fun to get to those classes.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to Core 2.0. I'm buying 2 copies for myself, one to read, the other to have sexy time with, and then I'm going to pick up a few more for a few other of my friends. I'm going to take one down to the local gaming store.
I'm probably going to pick up the hardback copy. I've been telling Hankerin I want an unlimited leather edition with both Worlds and Core 2.0 all in one book. I think that would be awesome to do. I'd pay like $100 for that one. But I'm going to pick up a couple of the softback editions for everyone at the table, so probably 4 or 5 of those, and then of course get the hardback for my own to be able to put my own notes in and trash and totally wear out from the outside in from all the times that I'm going to be reading it. So looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm. I'm one of these days I'm going to get myself down to Tacoma because it ain't that far away from where I live. In fact, I could be there by probably like 9 o'clock in the morning. And I'm just going to camp out.
Hankerin.
I'm just going to camp outside his house, and when he comes outside, I'm going to scream his name like one of those chicks do at the Beatles concerts, and then I'll probably pass out in his front yard. He goes to the gym, so he might be able to hoist my gigantic fat ass up. But yeah, tune in next time. We'll have another action-packed show. We'll finish talking about the Alfheim classes, hopefully, and then after that, who knows? We're going to do some bioforms. Bioforms won't take long, and then it's Warp Shell. So stay tuned for all of the interesting, cool stuff we have coming out. Hopefully, by the time we do the next show, 2.0 will be out, and me and Victor can have like a cuddle fest as we gloriously read through our magazines, our books.
Killing me, Smalls. You're killing me.
Later. Adios, amigos. The Murder Hobo Show is not affiliated with or endorsed by any companies mentioned on this show. Any of the products mentioned on our show or appear on our website are the property and copyright of their respected owners. All items are used under fair use and education or review purposes. All other items are the intellectual property of the Murder Hobo Show, copyright 2018, all rights reserved.